God-level duplication system. Chapter 64. Victory. This time, the conversation between Grand Elder and Shu Anlin had also spread out and was heard by all the disciples in the square. In an instant, the disciples, who had retreated hundreds of meters away and were no longer affected, fell into silence. After that, everyone cried out in alarm. Senior brother Lin Xuan has also comprehended the concept. And he has comprehended the artistic conception of creation? How is this possible? Senior brother Lin Xuan is at most a chi gathering stage, right? That's right. It seems like our drifting cloud sect has never comprehended a concept before. All the disciples were discussing amongst themselves. Their eyes were filled with disbelief as they looked at Lin Xuan, who was standing in the arena. Before this, was the one who comprehended. Previously, when Chen Yuzi broke through to the Qi transformation stage and revealed his concept, it was already very impressive. Even in the inner sect, he was still a genius at level 1. And now, as a new disciple, Lin Xuan was able to comprehend the concept. And it was a true artistic conception of creation, the half-incomplete sword intent. This was unbelievable. However, this news came from the conversation between Grand Elder and his successor brother. With their status as sect seniors, there was no way they could fake it. In other words, was this the truth? When they thought of this, the disciples were even more shocked. They were extremely shocked by Lin Xuan's talent. His talent was beyond their imagination. It was too terrifying. In the arena, Chen Yuzi looked at Lin Xuan, who was emitting a piercing light. He could not help smiling bitterly. Concept, artistic conception of creation, half-incomplete sword intent. Sure enough, I'm still going to lose. At this moment, Chen Yuzi saw that Lin Xuan had also revealed his concept, and it had even surpassed his half-incomplete sword intent. His fighting spirit had been greatly reduced, and he couldn't help but feel dispirited. Lin Xuan was able to comprehend the artistic conception of creation when he was only at the Qi gathering stage. He was a top genius. How could he possibly be a match for Lin Xuan? However, at this point in time, it was impossible for him to admit defeat. Lin Xuan, your talent has once again exceeded my expectations. However, since we have already revealed our trump cards, let's settle this in one move. Chen Yuzi shouted. Even if he was defeated, he had to admit defeat in broad daylight and not admit defeat in a cowardly manner. Alright. Lin Xuan responded coldly. Breeze slash. Chen Yuzi shouted out loudly. With the help of his true chi, he slashed out with his sword. This strike was unleashed with all his strength. Without holding back, he unleashed all of his true chi and sword intent. Chen Yuzi only hoped that he wouldn't be defeated too miserably. A breeze sword light flew out and flew along the wind. Its speed was extremely fast, and its attitude and power far exceeded those of before. It was crushing on Lin Xuan. Lin Xuan was still a Qi gathering stage. Although he also had a true Qi, he still couldn't separate the true Qi from his body and release its sword light. However, with the help of the half-incomplete sword intent, his attack was also not bad. Lin Xuan slashed out with his sword. He didn't even use his sword technique, he only used a simple slash. However, with the enhancement of his sword intent, his power was also astonishing. In the next moment, it accurately landed on the breeze sword. A crisp sound rang out. Lin Xuan's ordinary slash actually split the breeze sword light in half, turning it into the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and dissipating the power of the slash was slightly reduced, and it continued downwards. The force passed through the air and attacked Chen Yuzi. This was not the true Qi sword light, but the air force under the enhancement of the sword intent and powerful strength. However, its power was still not bad. Its speed was also extremely fast. In an instant, it arrived in front of Chen Yuzi. When Chen Yuzi sensed its power, his facial expression changed drastically. However, it came too fast, so he could only block it with his sword horizontally. After a metallic sound, Chen Yuzi was sent flying and landed on the square below the arena. The sword in his hand kept vibrating. A long, bloody wound appeared on Chen Yuzi's chest, dyeing his clothes red. This was the injury caused by the force. Fortunately, this was only a light injury to Chen Yuzi. However, Chen Yuzi was considered to have lost when he landed on the arena. The arena turned silent once again. All the disciples widened their eyes and stood rooted to the ground in shock. After a few breaths, they gradually came back to their senses. Instantly, the sound of a large group of people gasping for air echoed. The field also became noisy. I didn't expect senior brother Lin Xuan to win. A sword technique defeated a chi transformation stage senior brother Chen. The power of the half-incomplete sword intent is much stronger than the embryonic form of the sword intent. Senior brother Lin Xuan has become the #1 disciple in the outer sect as a new disciple. He has broken the precedent. All the disciples were discussing amongst themselves. Their eyes were fixed on Lin Xuan. They were shocked. No one had thought that Lin Xuan would be the champion of this competition. Furthermore, Zhou Lei and Guan Yuanchuang were instantly killed by Lin Xuan. Even the #1 expert of the outer sect, Chen Yuzi, who had broken through to the Qi transformation stage and comprehended the embryonic form of the concept, was defeated by Lin Xuan. They really couldn't believe this scene. However, the truth was right in front of their eyes. They had no choice but to believe it. They were even more shocked. Chen Yuzi looked at Lin Xuan, who was the center of attention, and couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh. Sure enough, I still lost. Chen Yuzi only came back to his senses when he felt the pain coming from his chest. When Lin Xuan revealed the half-incomplete sword intent, Chen Yuzi knew that he had failed. The reason he still wanted to compete with Lin Xuan was because he didn't want to lose so badly. However, he didn't expect that Lin Xuan would destroy his all-out attack before he could even use his sword technique. Lin Xuan even sent him flying. It was as if Lin Xuan was only a Qi transformation stage while he was only a Qi gathering stage. The gap between them was just too great. He couldn't even defend against Lin Xuan's attack. Chen Yuzi couldn't help but shake his head, feeling dispirited. In front of such a terrifying genius, he was just an ordinary person. He didn't even have the slightest thought of fighting back. Forget it. Chen Yuzi sighed. He turned around and walked toward the crowd with a bitter smile. In the crowd, all the senior disciples looked dejected and dejected. The new disciples were cheering and cheering. Zhou Lei and Guan Yuanchuang were also stunned for a long time. They looked at each other and sighed. The two of them looked at Chen Yuzi, who was walking towards them. They also lost their original enthusiasm. In front of Lin Xuan, the competition between them and Chen Yuzi was nothing. Whether it was the two of them or Chen Yuzi, they seemed insignificant at this moment. On the arena, Deacon Zhang was also extremely shocked. He also didn't expect that the final victor of this match would be Lin Xuan. Even Chen Yuzi, who had broken through to the Qi transformation stage and had the concept, was defeated. When the crowd became noisy, he barely managed to regain his senses. However, the shock in his heart did not diminish in the slightest. He looked at Lin Xuan. He knew that an extraordinary existence was about to emerge in the entire Drifting Cloud sect. After that, he announced, Lin Xuan has won. He has advanced to the first rank.